beat up, they should never went put the heat up.
What's good, everybody? What's good? It's your boy, Cardinal Bud Crawford, or E.S. Red, if that's what you want to call me. And we are back for another one. Alright, y'all. New topic. Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. will be the examples. What's wrong with super fights? Alright, y'all. So there's definitely problems in the sport of boxing when it comes to putting together high-level fights. This doesn't happen in karate. Doesn't happen in jiu-jitsu. This doesn't happen in wrestling. This doesn't happen in MMA. This doesn't happen in basketball, football, baseball, any other sport. It just doesn't seem to have the problems that boxing seems to have. And I don't really understand why boxing has these problems. I get some of it, and a lot of it is based off of money. But I don't understand. Well, it's based off of money. There's too many promoters. There isn't a sanctioning body. Like, there isn't a commission controlling the sport. There isn't an entity controlling the sport. There's sanctioning bodies, but they don't really matter because they don't control the entire sport. Now, I know people, there'll probably be a few people that say, well, that makes boxing better because you don't have centralized power. You don't have one entity saying you have to do this or else. So it gives fighters, I guess some people would say, a little bit more freedom within the sport. But the problem with that extra freedom is you get situations like Maypac, you get situations like Spence versus Crawford, you get situations to where the fights that should be made and would be made if someone, or if there was a centralized body controlling the sport, you know, we would probably most likely have these fights already made because it would be in the best interest of whoever's controlling the sport. I'm pretty sure they'd be getting some type of kickback off of it. That they would be making the sport more popular, and you know, it's what fans want. You know, it's weird because even though I mentioned this before, even though fans control sports, like sports don't exist without your fan dollars backing the sport, buying jerseys, buying gloves, buying paraphernalia, shorts, pictures, all this other stuff that fans purchase along with fight tickets and pay-per-views. We don't use our power, which is our dollar, to control how the sport maneuvers and what the sport actually does. We're more or less just, and this is mainly boxing, because I think MMA fans, they don't really have to do that because Dana White controls MMA, and if he wants to have a fight made, he's going to make that fight, or he's going to get rid of that fighter. So MMA fans really don't have to deal with this, or don't have to go this drastically when it comes to having fights made. But it's different in the sport of boxing. It's almost like fans feel like they owe these fighters their dollars just because these fighters are around and existing. So it kind of like props up a dying product. You're propping up a dying product, or something that should have changed by now. It's not changing because you're still giving your dollars to it. And since you're giving your dollars to it, it's not forcing it to change. Now, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that. Well, we have to support these people. We have to do this. We have to. You don't have to do anything in life except for live. You don't even have to go to work. I've seen homeless people out here flourishing. Even during the pandemic. I mean, like, there are homeless people out here flourishing and just living their life happy as can be. Without money, without a home, you know, without any of the basic necessities of life, they're happy people. So, as a fan, I don't understand why you feel like you have to constantly financially back a product that should be forced into changing itself. You know, boxing as a whole needs to change for the sport to survive, because it's not going to survive like this for another 5 to 10 years. Oh, believe me, you're not going to get too many more Canelo Alvarez's or Manny Pacquiao's or Floyd Mayweather's in this sport, because if it's financially not viable for someone, if someone can't make the 30, 40, 50 million dollars similar to a Pacquiao or a Mayweather like those guys were doing, why would people keep reinvesting their time and their blood, sweat, and tears into this sport? Why would fighters keep going to this sport when they can go over to MMA and get a bigger check? Yes, you have to learn different stuff in MMA. You can't just be a boxer in MMA. You're going to get beat to death pretty bad. But they're going to find different sports and different places to put their talents at. It's not going to be within the boxing ring anymore. And it's not only because they're not going to get those type of dollar amounts. It's because the sport isn't willing to evolve. The sport isn't evolving. It's actually devolving. It's going backwards. It's it's becoming a laughing stock of the mixed martial arts world or of the combat sports world. You know, boxing is like where it used to be the big brother is now somehow become the little brother to MMA and wrestling. Like boxing's even behind wrestling at this point. And really, if you want to blame anybody, you gotta blame the fans. The fans are the one who supports this crap. The fans are the one who purchase the fights and the memorabilia, and you know, they buy the pay-per-views. Even though they don't agree with the product, they're still supporting the product with their dollars. And Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, they're going to be the example, I think, for the future of boxing. If this super fight doesn't go off the way it's supposed to, this could potentially be the last super fight in boxing. You might not get any more super fights. You might have 2 superstar fighters facing off with each other, but what makes it a super fight is the high dollar amounts. You might get 2 superstar fighters facing off with each other for less than $10 million now. From now on, you know, the fights just might not be worth that anymore. Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford could change this by giving fans what they want, which is a great product, a great fight. But there's a chance that this might not even be a great fight. This could be another Maypac stalemate fight, and it could definitely be the death knell of boxing, because if this one don't go off good and this one doesn't turn into a good product or a good fight in the ring, best believe, especially if you force fans to pay $80, $90, $100 for it, there won't be any more super fights, because I don't think people are going to be stupid enough to keep investing their money into something that's really not worth their time, effort, or dollars. You can't blame Spence and Crawford for the state of boxing, but they're not helping. They're definitely not helping. And it's less. I would put less of the emphasis on Errol Spence, because Errol Spence did offer. He did all the heavy lifting. He collected all those titles. This fight doesn't even happen without Errol Spence collecting all those titles. It wouldn't matter, because it wouldn't be for undisputed. So you got to put less emphasis on Errol Spence and more on Terence Crawford, because he's trying to benefit from a super fight, but he's really not the one who's making the super fight. He's involved because he has one of those titles, but Errol Spence Jr. did all the hard work in this scenario. So it's more that Terence Crawford is benefiting off of something, off a super fight that he just happens to be involved with. It's not like he did anything special to make this a super fight. And I know there's going to be some people to argue, well, what he did at 130 and 140 was, you know, this is the reason why it's no, it's not. It's definitely not. It's a super fight because it's for undisputed, and it's something that hasn't been done at the welterweight level in a long time. So that's what's making it a super fight. It's a super fight because all the titles are involved, and only one guy holds the majority of those titles. So it's really a Errol Spence event that Terence Crawford is just involved with. And if Terence Crawford loses, you know, that's the end of his career anyway. So he really doesn't matter that much in the grand scheme of things. But overall, it's going to be a bad look, a bad taste in the mouth of fans if this specific super fight doesn't go off the way it should and the way they're planning on it to. So, you know, maybe some of the weight is necessary for them to get it right, but they definitely need to get this thing right. Let me know what y'all think about that down in the comment section below. Hit that like button for me. Share, subscribe. Tell a friend. Holler at me on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You're more than likely to get a response on YouTube, so holler at me over there if you want a response. It's your boy, Cardinal Bud Crawford, or E.S. Red, if that's what you want to call me. And I think I'm done rambling for now. Yeah, so we are Manny.
Don't give me a reason, I got killers and I feed them.